everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Debbie DeGroat, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Forward Coaching. I'm actually in gorgeous Coeur d'Alene, Idaho today. My office background looks different. I'm visiting our office here, so I'm excited to be here with all of you, and I really appreciate you joining today because I know you've got kids getting out of school and you've been, dealing with probably graduations, all kinds of things happening. So I want to make this especially great, which is why we're not going to use a slide deck today. I thought, let's just go rogue. Let's just talk to each other. Let's talk about what have I learned over the last 25 years of coaching the top 1% of agents in the nation. Now, as we talk about this, what I want to share with you is my passion and why I actually started Forward Coaching to begin with is because I believe there is no one size fits all plan for every real estate on the planet. I believe that if we see you for who you are, your uniqueness, your local market, your talents, your strengths, your passions, and build a plan around that, you will succeed beyond your wildest dreams, right? So why do I bring that up? I bring that up because as we go through some of these topics today, I don't want you to feel like every single one of them have to apply to you, or that you take action on every single point, because I want you to see your own uniqueness, special talents, special skills, just like I would if we were talking together. So what I would ask is this: turn off distractions because you invested your time to be here. So let's all be all in. Go ahead and turn off those distractions. And then also what I would want to encourage you to do is at the end of the session, when we have some time together, I'm going to invite you to unmute yourself, to raise your hand, to ask questions, to type in the chat box, and we'll just go rogue, right? Like I said, we'll be, yes, Arne, we will be wild, which doesn't usually describe me. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So my deal with you, you're going to have 2 to 3 awesome takeaways. And then I promise we're going to have lots of fun questions at the end. So you'll want to stay on. And if you have some questions about what is it like to coach with Forward, or how does coaching work in general? How do you get connected with me? We'll give you all that info at the end, okay? So I probably have coached more real estate agents than anyone on the planet. I'm pretty sure of that. We literally stopped counting after 100,000 private coaching sessions. So many of those sessions were 30 minutes. So you can figure at least 50,000 plus hours of coaching. And what is it? What was that book? It says like you have to do, was it 10,000 hours, right? To be an expert. But I got to tell you, I still don't consider myself an expert, because I think anytime any of us label ourselves an expert and we assume that we know everything there is to know about our industry, that we stop learning, that we stop growing, that we become a dinosaur. And wow, the way the industry is moving, technology, competition, the shift in the market at the moment, like we can never, ever rest. Having said that, though, I have had some pretty awesome experience coaching some of the best in the country. And it was hard to distill it down to 10 key points to share with you today of what are some of the things that they have in common. And so some of these you may say, yes, I do that. I have that in common with these super agents. Or you might say, ooh, that's one that I need to master. Okay, so feel free, type things in the chat as we go. We'll go through these quickly, then we'll open up the line for all of you. So number one, and you're going to say, I've heard this one before, but it's true. They all have written goals. So when you look at the top performers, the top achievers, they have a blueprint. And in fact, that's often why they came to us for coaching. And you might say, why would the top 1%, people earning $500,000, $1 million, even we have coaching clients earning 2, 3, 4, 5 million a year. Why would they come to us for coaching? Because they want to have this clear blueprint that includes written goals, but also includes a very strategic action plan. But remember, not one size fits all. So if I were meeting with each of you, what would I do? And I want you to write this down because I want you to do it for yourself. Okay. So if I were coaching you, so we're going to have you coach you. Number one, I would take the DISC assessment. I would have you take that DISC assessment. If you haven't done that before, you can go to our forwardcoaching.com website. I think Jess could even pop the DISC link up here for you in the chat box. And why is this so important? It's going to tell you a lot about your own personality. It's going to tell you about where you might be stronger in certain activities, but it's also going to give you some cues and clues. Where would you maybe avoid things because it's hard for you? So it's very important to understand yourself, your strengths, and where you could be stronger. So why they come to us for coaching to create this blueprint and action plan? You know how it is, that old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. So they know what they do well, just like you know what you do well. But here's what's really common. You may have 1, 2, or even 3 things that you do pretty darn well. But then there may be gaps, right? So I'll give you an example. Awesome guy. Fred said, he has an amazing database plan. Amazing. The touches, the emails, the auto campaigns, the events, the mailing. And yet when I was talking with Fred, I said, but Fred, do you call them? No, that's the one thing I've never done. See, bingo, there's the gap. So often they come to us for coaching because they want to take the things that they're doing well, find the gaps, make those things better and more effective. So that's what I want you to do for yourself. I want you to write a note to yourself. I want to identify my 1, 2, or 3 things that I do well. And then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do a be honest, and I'm going to identify where are the gaps. If I improved those few pieces, I would make more money out of that source. Okay. Step number 2 ties right into what we were just saying. They know their personal strengths and how to lean into them. I'll give you an example. I'm a high D. So I knew that I was more comfortable reaching out to strangers than some others might be. So I discovered as an agent that expired listings was my favorite thing to do. I knew they wanted to sell. I knew they had tried to hire an agent and it wasn't successful. I knew a lot of history about the property. So expireds were perfect for me. I leaned hard into that strength of meeting strangers and being okay with maybe a little higher level of rejection. However, some of you might say, but I'm not a high D, and that would make me really uncomfortable. In fact, I don't even think I'd be willing to do it. Okay, but then what are you willing to do? Because you see, while it's great to have one, two, or three things that you do really well, the magic happens when you have five or six. So I like to see first, step one, strengthen the things you do well. Step two, identify one or two additional sources of business that you would be willing to take on because it feels right, right for you, right for your personality. But then you have to develop, remember, that action plan, action steps, timelines, deadlines, and time block it in your calendar so that it gets done. Okay, so that's one of the reasons they come to us for coaching. Now, number three, what do these top producers know? Just like Fred, they know the value of building an amazing sphere of influence, of taking great care of their past clients and being top of mind. You know, let's face it, guys, all of your people in your database, they all know more than one real estate agent, don't they? So if you are not front and center, top of mind on every channel, direct mail, still alive and well and great for those people. Social media, right? Emails, events, phone calls, texting, market reports, listing alerts in a very helpful and content rich way, right? Because I don't believe in spamming them. In fact, I often joke, some of you have probably heard me before. I think I'm sorry if I offend you when I say this, but I think it's kind of ridiculous to invest money to send a postcard telling people it's time to change their clocks, or quite frankly, to even send an email. Because I want to budget what I put in front of people to make sure it's good stuff. Because pretty much they know it's time to change their clocks. Their phone will change automatically. If they forget, oh, well, they sleep in an extra hour, no big deal on a Sunday, right? So really think of, how am I leaning into this database, providing value, shining as their wise advisor? And then you got to ask yourself, am I doing enough to grow it? You know, one of our great clients, some of you may have met him on a past, or maybe you took our luxury course, and he's my co-author of that, Ernie Carswell in Beverly Hills. And Ernie is not a cold caller. Ernie would not call expireds. Ernie does a massive amount of business. But you know how Ernie did it? Relationships. Building relationships, and some of those relationships came from things that he loves to be involved in, like the restoration committee for the Hollywood Bowl, or a museum that he's a member, or on the, I don't know what they call it exactly, but to help find great exhibits and host events at the museum. So he loves all of those things. It's a way of meeting awesome people who are his ideal client, bringing them back, putting them into his database, and nurturing them. That's his style. Now, then if I take another one of our clients, top agent in Corona Del Mar, California, Casey Lesher. Casey is the man in Corona Del Mar. He dominates it. I've coached Casey for years. I think I've coached Ernie for 8 or 10 years. I've really gotten to know these guys well. Casey is a phenomenal geographic farmer, and he supports that geographic marketing with community events, and get this, door knocking. Yes, even in a luxury market, he door knocks. Now, of course, not everyone we coach is luxury, but you get my point. They all have their niches. So it's not one size fits all. Figure out your niche and work on that database, grow it, maintain it, and be top of mind. So then I wrote down number 4, when you have your 5 lead generation pillars, what they're also always doing to make sure that they're not just running the playbook if it's not effective. So what I mean by that, we all remember a few years ago, expireds pretty much dried up, right? It was kind of like the moment that if it didn't sell, there was really something wrong with it. So if I were in that niche of expireds being a part of my business, a big part of my business, a big pillar, suddenly that pillar is drying up. Well, that means I can't just run that same playbook. I have to go replace it with a new pillar. Some of you, like me, have been in the business a long time, and we've seen other market cycles where our database suddenly stopped moving. A little bit of that is happening right now, isn't it? They're stuck on the fence because they don't want to pay a higher rate. They're hoping rates will go down. Eventually, rates will go down a little and they'll break loose and they'll move because they're tired of waiting. But right, it's not quite that same flow out of the database. So that's why you can't just rely on that lever. You have to add something that is more where the now business is, right? So we got to pay attention to the market. Then number 5, they've mastered the fundamentals of the business. However, they never stop working to get better. You know what's a new skill to master right now? Or I should say, maybe to tune up, right? Some of you who've been in the business a long time, you remember when we had to do a lot of tough love pricing conversations and price reductions. You remember that. But we got rusty because we didn't have to do it. Now we do in most markets or certain pockets of your market. If you are new, been in the business probably less than 5 years, you may have never had to do a price reduction and are completely clueless. Well, then skill up. And don't even get me started about AI and Chat GPT. And, fortunately, I have Jessica, the VP of Forward Coaching, who nags me all the time to be adding new things, technology, and learning something new, because we'd all rather just kind of hang out, right? And that's something I've noticed is that the average agent gets just good enough to get by, and they kind of sit there. So, I take 80% of the listings I go out on, they tell me. And I say, well, that's awesome. However, wouldn't it be better to take 98.2% of the listings you go out on? Now, why would I not say 100%? Guys, we all know that 0.8 could be the crazies, right? The ones you don't want. But why wouldn't we strive? You see what I mean? If we're at 80, why wouldn't we try to get to 85? If we close, 4 out of 5 buyers we meet with on a buyer rep agreement, why wouldn't we try to close 2 out of 4? Always look to take that skill to the next level. And that's exactly why for our forward coaching clients, I recently created a price reductions course and a high-level negotiations course for them, because I want to keep pushing them to skill up. But they've mastered the fundamentals. So the basics, taking care of their database, holding an effective open house, great lead follow-up procedures. Those are strong. Then I wrote down number 6. They have systems and processes, and they utilize technology as effective and affordable leverage. There's an old book. You guys can type in the chat if you've read it, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And I think there's a new version called The E-Myth, like the big capital E, The E-Myth Revisited. Let me tell you in a nutshell what that book is about, because it does apply to many of us in this industry. What Michael says in the book, the E myth is the entrepreneurial myth. And he uses an example. This lady who makes fabulous pies. Her pies are so good that her friends and her family say, you need to open a pie shop. You would be an overnight success. So she does. She opens a pie shop. She gets a location. She hires some staff, and everything promptly crashes and falls apart. Why? Because she was a great pie maker. You are a great entrepreneur. You can move it, shake it, talk to clients, put deals together, make it happen. However, are you good on the flip side of that, which is building your own version of a pie shop, of being the technician and engineer of your business? Because without a predictable system, how do you measure and how do you improve? Because everything is always just organic. But let's take an example of a system. Let's say that you have a process. When you meet a buyer, maybe you send them a buyer information package in advance. You have your flow and process of your buyer consultation. My flow and process for that was always step one, dive deep into their needs, wants, and dreams. Step two, what were my home search services? What am I going to do for them? Why should they work with me? Then step three, reviewing the agreement, asking them to sign. Step four, scheduling our first appointment, get them out and show them property, and in that same time, getting them pre-approved with the lender. So see, that's a process. But here's what I discovered. At first, I was presenting the home search services. That was my first thing out of the gate. My ratio of signing them up wasn't high enough. It wasn't great. And then I realized I need to start with step one, being deep dive into their needs, wants, and dreams, because I'm building rapport. I'm showing them I care. I'm understanding their pain points and hot buttons, which teaches me how to sell them in better and makes them more open to the services and the agreement. But you see, I had a process which allowed me to measure and find the gaps and fix it and become more efficient, where I could sign 9 out of 10 on an agreement, no problem. And I could run it like a machine. So very important. That's a big reason. In fact, if I had to probably say what is the number one reason these top producers come to us, or at least what they tell me when they join, they say, I need to improve my systems, my processes, so that I can have a more predictable and duplicatable business. That's their number one desire. And it's important, no doubt. Number 7, amazing salespeople, they're not timid about letting people know what they do. Now, I read this book once, and it was written by these professors, and I think the title of it wouldn't be one you'd find on Amazon, and quite frankly, is like kind of boring. It was really big and lots of detail that was clinical. But the title of the book was How to Overcome Your Fear of Prospecting and Self-Promotion. And what it said in the beginning of the book, it's a myth that all great salespeople love to prospect. So why am I telling you that? If you are a little bit reluctant to let your light shine, to talk about business and social situations, to reach out to your past clients and ask, what are your real estate related plans for the future? You're not alone. Every single one of us has to work through that and get past that. So how do you do it? We encourage our clients to make sure that they feel that first and foremost, they are leading with value. So when they're at some group activity or event, they're not running around saying, let me give you my card, let me give you my card. They're just as gently as possible letting it be known. Maybe they're just wearing their career apparel, that they're in real estate. And when people ask questions, they give answers, they share data. We have a script where we say, there's some great things I do for our friends and family. I send bulletins, updates, hot buys. Would you like to be part of that information loop? Awesome. I'll be happy to add you, and you'll be receiving these great bulletins. See, they're very gracious about it. They have to get past the discomfort. But the more you do that, the more people you can help, and the better you feel about what you do when you're leading with value. But you got to let your light shine. Because guess what? If you don't, they're going to go find somebody who may not treat them as well. Arne, that book I mentioned, The E-Myth is Michael Gerber, the How to Overcome the Fear of Prospecting and Self-Promotion. I don't remember both authors' names, but one of them was Dudley. I do remember that for some weird reason. Okay, number 8, top producers quickly adapt to changing market conditions. And they study the market. They use their market knowledge to have these high-level conversations with buyers and sellers to help spark, I'm going to call it ethical urgency, right? Because even right now, you're going to see a lot of your sellers, they're in denial. They don't want to believe that it's not going to be put your home on the market and have 25 bids. Now, you might have a listing at a price point that does apply to, but for the most part across the country, days on market right now are between 30 to 90 days on market. Certain markets, even 100 plus. Now, that may not last, that may be temporary, we don't know, but we have to know the data in our market and be able to use our market knowledge to shift our business and to have those conversations with our buyers and sellers. I don't mean this part to be a commercial, but I just got to throw it out there because I love it so much. There's an awesome technology called Area Pro, super affordable, no contract. It can do for you in 60 seconds what I used to spend hours doing to study my market. You can put in an address, it will give you all the data, absorption rate, all kinds of great things. And then you can say, hey, to the chat GPT built in, can you write me a script to talk to a seller about this? Can you write me a script to talk to a buyer about this? Hey, can you put an email together that I could send to my clients? It's incredible. So you might want to check it out because I got to tell you guys, you have to be an expert in your market. So then number 9, they are consistent. They are consistent with their schedule, executing the activities they need to execute like a machine, like a clock, like a robot, if you will. Like they're at their desk, they're on the phone, they do their dials, they track their numbers, they call their leads. It's just like a machine. Because guess what? With consistent habits come the big results. But where do many agents break down on that? Do you know what I hear a lot? It's boring. I had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago. My daughter, very short term, I hope, is living in London. And I went to visit her, and she and my husband are huge Eric Clapton fans. So we went to the concert at Royal Albert Hall. And I'm watching, when you see him up close, you're looking at him and, super dynamic and talented, but you're like, he's kind of old. He's been at this a really long time. I don't know how long, 50 years? Some of you fans will know. And I'm hearing him sing these songs, and he's looking like he's so happy about it. And I'm thinking, how many times, how many millions of times has he performed that same song over and over and over again? But anyone in any industry to be successful has to master repetitious boredom, right? And sometimes we don't do that. And especially those of you who are high I personality, you love bright and shiny, you love change, you love chaos. Find that in your fun. Find that in your personal life. But if you can perfect your morning routine, and that's what these top people know, if they can lock down that morning routine, all those big lead gen activities out of the way, probably the afternoon is just going to fill up with appointments and take care of itself. So if you're not consistent, you will never build the pattern and the habit in your brain of adapting to those activities. And therefore, those activities will be hard for you. And I love it. I'd rather be bored all the way to the bank. You're right, Arne. Exactly. Right. And then number 10, they hustle. That's it. They hustle. They, in fact, our family is a family in real estate. And often my husband and I will be driving on the road and he's behind some slowpoke driver. And he'll say, well, they clearly are not a commission worker, right? Because they got all the time in the world. And I want you to hustle because I want you to get in, play beat the clock, be on that routine, be on that schedule, make the money you need, get done, go home, have a life. Don't be 24/7 at this job. And see, that's often what they come to us for coaching for as well. I'll give you a great example. Awesome client for a decade, Boris Kolodov. And Boris came to me and said, I want to make $500,000 a year. So we got there. Then our next project was to get to 750. Then our next project was to get to 1 million. And we got there. And then Boris said, you know what I want to do now? I want to maintain my same income, but I want to work 20% less. So we built a plan and we accomplished that. Then he said, now I want to work 40% less. Built a plan, accomplished that. Then he said, now I want to up my price point, which is already pretty high, like 2 million, to 5 million plus. And I want to go live in Portugal for a portion of the year, come back and only do a handful of luxury deals a year. And he's doing it. So whatever your goal is it more money? Is it more time? With effective plan, though, you actually can have either one of those, right? Or both. So I wrote down, they do what's hard, even when they don't want to, which, guys, we all have hard days, right? We all have hard days. There's plenty of time that we would rather be doing just about anything else. But that's why it's called work and not vacation. So they have hard days. They don't always love it, but they know that they have to show up and they have to do what they committed to if they plan to achieve their goal. And some of you have teams, so you have to show up as that leader, right? So great salespeople do what others know they should do, but don't. And I get it. I was just talking to someone today that has some real life drama going on. Their wife was in a car accident. Their father just passed away and they're dealing with his estate. And it's a lot. And they said, I'm just not working right now. And I said, well, can you financially afford to earn no money? And they said, no. And I said, well, then we need to create a temporary version of the business, a temporary schedule, reduced activities that produce the most business just to keep the bills paid until you can get back in action. So you may have hard things going on in your life right now. Time may not be your friend. However, if we can focus, as I work with them to do, to spending minimum 30% of their time on business building activity. Then if you get to 30%, we want to go to 40, we want to go to 50%. So if you guys have teams, your goal is to get to 80%. Right. So we're gonna open this up here in just a second for questions, for thoughts. But just before we do, I want to share with you that one of the points of our meeting today was to answer the question that I get probably 100 times a week. Why should I hire a coach? What will a coach do for me? So to make it easy, I'm going to tell you. We're going to help you build skills, expand your business model, have accountability around the key metrics. We're not cookie cutter, boilerplate, did you do accountability. No, it's strategic accountability. It's an advisor at your shoulder. And we're going to support and encourage you on the dark days. And I tell our coaches, who are 20 to 40 years in the industry, by the way, they're some of the best in the country. And I also think they're the best because they love what they do. They actually really care about what they do. And I tell them we need to be able to look down the road and see what's possible for you that you don't even see and help you create that blueprint. And, you know, we stand behind everything we do. Some of you have worked with us. You know it's true. We don't ask you to sign a contract. Every client we have has my cell phone and private email, and they will all tell you I respond promptly. Every coach I have is available and accessible in between the paid coaching sessions. We're all in, right? So before we open up and take some questions, if you have to leave us, if you have an interest in finding out more about coaching, we're going to make it super easy for you today. All right. No middleman, nobody else to talk to but me. Jessica's going to put the link for what we call a business strategy session. And that's what it is. It's not a pitch. And that will be booked directly with me. So nobody in the way, nobody in between us. Now, keep in mind, it is an investment. It's between $800 and $1,500 a month. It includes private sessions, private access to Coach and to Debbie, mastermind sessions, tons of resources, some of those great courses that I shared with you. So lots of goodies, which we'll explain. But if you're at a point where you're thinking, I think I need to hire a coach and I need to talk to Debbie, it's a 30-minute link. You and I will talk about your business. And if I don't think you're prepared to be in coaching or it's right for you, I will tell you. If you choose to move forward with us, I personally will be the one that selects your coach and gets the best match. You will then have a half hour to meet your coach, no charge, and confirm that's a good match. So see, we invest so much in you before you even join, and no other coaching company does that. They just don't. But that's my passion. So I hope we inspire you to take some kind of action. Here we are in the middle of the year. This is the fork in the road. You choose to stay the path you are, and it'll get you more what you're getting, or you choose to take some massive action, which I hope you choose the massive action. And, you know, by the way, yeah, there's pain. There's pain in growth. There's pain in doing better and more. But there's also pain in not having what you deserve. And our clients grow by 30, 40, even as much as 50% in their income in their first year of coaching. And do we ask them to do some things that are hard? Yeah, but it's hard in a good way because they're making more money and they're feeling more creative and more positive. All right, so Jess, can they raise their hand? I don't see them on my screen, by the way. That's okay. I can't see them. Okay. But you guys can type in the chat box. Let me know if you have questions. And we've got the link there, right, Jess? You've got that link. So also, again, if you have any problem, you saw Jess put my email there. If you have a question about today's session, any question at all, maybe you take the DISC assessment, you want to ask me about that, you're always welcome to go straight to my email. And yes, that program I mentioned before, Marilyn, was Area Pro. And check it out. I am just so impressed by it. I'm telling everybody I know about it. Because what's cool is you actually would be able, Marilyn, let's say you're at a party and somebody says, hey, how's the market? And you can say, you know what? Let's look it up. I've got this amazing proprietary software. Let me put in your area. Well, here, take a look. Days on market, appreciation, absorption rate. Tell me, what were you most interested in? Tell me why you asked. Right? It's super cool. Arne uses it. He says, and Vanessa, if the link doesn't work for you, just email me, Debbie@forwardcoaching.com. Okay. And we'll get you taken care of. Just say strategy call or tell me what you need. We'll get you taken care of. One of our clients that use Area Pro, and they're pretty social, so they go to a lot of things with friends and family. He said, my wife said, I am so sick of you because every time we go, somebody asks you a question, you pull up that darn Area Pro, and pretty soon you got 20 people standing around you like you're giving a real estate seminar. But guess what? He's finding leads everywhere. So yeah, check it out. I think you'll like it. And it's super affordable. And there's no contract with Area Pro either. Okay. All right, Jess, anything else that we need to share? Anything you can see that I can't see in the chat box? Well, guys, it was fun to be here with you today and just, have an off the cuff conversation. Jess, would you be able by chance to pop up the coaching benefits in the chat box as well, just in case they would like to look at all that is included in coaching? And, I'll leave you with one last thought. I do hear this a lot. People will say, I really want to coach, but I tried coaching before and it didn't work for me. And maybe I'm just not coachable. In my experience as a coach, I find that most people are coachable. That maybe there was a situation where it wasn't the right coach. Or maybe they were trying to force you into a mold or a model that was not you. It wasn't a fit. And as I started with, I embrace, that Steve Jobs quote, here's to the misfits, the rebels, the square pegs that won't fit in the round hole. And that's really all of you, these awesome entrepreneurs. So Arne, great question. Until you can afford to invest in coaching, one action that you should take today to get there. So what I would suggest, Arne, is don't miss any of our webinars. We try to provide a lot of completely complimentary content because that's my goal. I want to help you guys improve and get better. So please don't miss our webinars. If ever there's an awesome topic that any of you are like, oh, darn, I have a conflict at the time of that webinar, go ahead and register, because that's going to ensure that we're going to send you a copy of that recording. So then you can watch those, because Arne, I try to be super relevant with what's going on in the market, including periodic market, like market updates, like what's happening economically. So please watch those, take your DISC assessment, and Arne, lock down that morning schedule and routine. And I would encourage all of you, do what I did with Ernie. When Ernie came to me, it wasn't that he wasn't talking to people in the day. He just wasn't making any outbound outreaches. And we started with a simple 5-5-5. 5 great conversations a day, 5 great emails to spark an opportunity, and 5 texts. So he did his 5-5-5 every day, 5 days a week, and his business doubled. He went from 1 million in GCI to 2 million in GCI in 1 year. Now, he's well beyond that now, but that's how we got started, Arne. 5-5-5. Now, once you master that, if you can do 10-10-10, even better. And some of you with super huge goals who are willing to hit the phones hard, do what I did. Minimum 20 conversations a day, eye to eye or ear to ear. Because remember, doesn't always have to be conversations with strangers. However, there are more people out there in the world that we don't know than people that we do know, and sometimes we should talk to them. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week. Thanks for being here.